Wir sind nun bei der Firma S.E.A. Neben mir steht der Kai. Kai, kannst du uns mal was über eure Produktpalette verraten?
Ja, wir sind Vertrieb in Deutschland für diverse High-End-Studiomarken, unter anderem Universal Audio, Chandler, Audient, Earthworks-Mikrofone und vieles mehr. Und ja, wir führen euch gleich mal ein bisschen rum, würde ich sagen.
Was sind denn eure Highlights? Was schauen wir uns denn heute genauer an?
Wir werden euch zeigen den 4710 von Universal Audio, ein neues Mischpult von Audient mit DAW-Controller, plus einmal die ganze Chandler-Produktpalette, weil wir Chandler gerade neu bei uns im Programm haben und euch die Sachen gerne einmal vorstellen möchten.
Okay, dann geht's los. So Kai, das ist er jetzt hier, der 4710 Digital von Universal Audio. Kannst du uns da einen kleinen Grobüberblick beschaffen, bevor wir nachher in die Details mit dem LEF gehen?
Ja, der 4710 ist einfach eine 4-Kanal-Variante des 710er Preamps von Universal Audio, den es ja als Lunchbox gibt. Hier das Ganze auf 19 Zoll mit Digitalausgängen und den Rest erklärt euch am besten LEF.
Jetzt noch der LEF, der wird uns einiges noch detailliert erzählen. Bitte LEF.
Okay, so the 4710D takes the award-winning 710 preamp and we put 4 of them into a single unit. We've also added 1176 style compression onto each channel. The unique thing about the 710 preamp is that it's both a solid state and a tube in one, and you can literally blend between the two, so you get the best of both solid state and tube. The other unique thing about the 710D is it's got an 8-channel A to D converter built right in, so you can connect it to any audio interface via ADAT light pipe, AES EBU, up to 192 kilohertz. So very nice, very clean, and it has the tube, so you can get kind of the harmonic distortion that you'd expect from that as well.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, hallo, wir sind hier bei Chandler Limited und wir haben sogar den Firmeninhaber, der die Produkte auch designt hier aus Amerika. Hi Chandler.
Hey, how are you?
Fine. Can you tell us some specials or something about your company? How did you do it and where did you start?
Oh, sure. I think I probably have a much different background than probably a lot of someone, maybe George Massenburg or someone like that. I probably am more similar to a lot of your students actually, because I started out as a musician. I started out as an assistant engineer. I didn't actually go to school. I kind of borrowed money and I bought equipment and started learning and playing in bands and building my own studio. And I actually got into making equipment because I didn't really have enough money to buy a Neve module and to buy, you know, a U47.
You have to do it by yourself.
So my first projects were I started finding old Neve parts and building the 1073 modules from scratch. And I built 5 or 6 of them, and I was assisting at a studio at the time. And I had saved, I took a loan out and I bought a tape machine actually back then, and it was like $12,000. So that was like my school loan, you know. And so that's how it all kind of came about. And I was able to get a pretty good job assisting because I had a tape machine. I knew how to align it. I knew how to kind of my way around a studio. I could wire. I could do some repairs. And I kind of went in the wrong way, I think, into the studio environment. But that's how the design all started. And then once I had started building my modules, a few people knew about it, and I was offered a job at a company out there doing the technical work and repairs. And from there, I started designing my own units. I started them while I was there. Our first unit is called the LTD1, and that's a Neve module remake, which was based on my experience building the modules, like I said earlier. And I was always a huge Beatles fanatic, and I stumbled on, during all this gear and things, I stumbled on a pair of EMI preamps and a pair of the old EMI compressors, which are almost non-existent to buy. And I loved them so much that I knew this was one of my next things. I knew I had to make them, if nothing else, just so I could have a couple more, you know. And that's really kind of where the company started, was with those couple of things, LTD Neve modules and the EMI modules. I was so blown away and knew that this was a calling for me or something. So our first products were the LTD1, which is based on some of the Neve circuit, and then the TG2 and the TG1, which were based on the vintage modules that I had found. And as luck would have it, when I was making the EMI units, I put them out. I started making them and put them out. And at first, EMI found out about it, and they were pretty upset. Yeah. And I was obviously very naive and pretty young at the time, and was just doing it and like, I like this, I'll do it. And so at first they were mad and said, you have to stop this or we might have to slap you around. And we both kind of stopped and took a breath, and they said, well, actually we like how you did it and you're already doing it. And I said, yeah, And so we ended up negotiating contracts, and we have the 5 products from EMI now, as well as the original LTD Neve style units I started with. And actually our most
this is an EQ, pure EQ?
EQ and preamp. It's just like a 1073 module, except that
like
it has some extra
preamp,
setting. Yeah, mic preamp and equalizer with some extra settings.
Yeah, and the next one?
This one is like the 2254, 2264 Neve module compressor. Again, with some modifications and kind of set up the way I wanted to do it. From EMI, we have the console compressor, preamp, EQ preamp, stereo equalizer, and stereo compressor limiter. All the EMI stuff is from the consoles that were used to make the last Beatle record, Abbey Road, and like all the Dark Side of the Moon stuff was done on that.
And Parsons, Pink Floyd.
Yeah. All the Pink Floyd up until and including Dark Side of the Moon, like the first 5 albums or whatever it is. So it's very much that sound. And if you own like these 2 units, you have the console strip that they used. And what was very interesting is those consoles had a compressor limiter on every channel starting in 1969. So they like invented that channel strip 30 years before SSL started doing it, very neat kind of history. And from there I started going into my own designs, which we have the Germanium series based on the old Germanium transistor sound, because I loved that sound. Some of the EMI stuff uses Germanium transistors. The original Neve stuff before the 1073 uses Germanium. Some of the Telefunken stuff used it, and obviously there's the cool sounding guitar pedals that a lot of people like, and I always loved that sound, and it was a real natural progression for us. So this is actually our most successful pieces. We actually sell even more of them than the EMI units, so I feel very fortunate about that, because that's my own baby, and you can...
Yeah, you are still pretty young, and you do it all this in some years or something.
I try. I work too much, not good.